Hi guys, hope everyone's having a great day. I'm going to give you a short little tutorial today. We always give a list of required training kit and safety kit, and especially for striking martial arts, we always tell people to get hand wraps. So I thought I'd do a little video today just to show you how to wrap your hands. There's loads of different ways. Some people might use like a kitchen sponge, some people might use medical gauze tape. Everyone has a different way of doing it. But what I can lay out is just the basic principles and where you're looking to protect your hands and your do's and don'ts. Okay, it's really important that you do wrap your hands if you're training regularly and if you're hitting stuff all the time, because a lot of impact into the wrist, into the knuckles, it can really improve the longevity of your hand if you just look after it from day one. Okay, so I'm using 120-inch Blitz hand wraps, and I got this pair from reception at Gym 01 a couple of years ago now. Did me really well. So I'm going to use these, and ideally the longer the better. Okay? I've got one that I've already unwrapped, and we always start with the hoop at the end. If we look at it, there's two sides. There's the underneath with the stitching, and then there's the top, which is flat. I've always got to make sure that the underneath, the stitching, goes flat onto the hand, so that when we get to the end, the Velcro will be the right way, so we can tie off the hand wrap. A lot of people use the thumb to use as the anchor, which I don't really like, because I don't like the idea of pressure and tension on that thumb joint. I'm trying to look after that. What's a stronger bone is the middle finger going into the hand, into the forearm. So I want to use that as my anchor, because then if there is any tension, it's going straight into the forearm, which is a bit stronger. Okay? I'm also going to start always going away from the thumb and around the back of the hand. Okay? This will mean it will just stay tighter when you're sparring, when you're training, when you're hitting stuff. I'm going to start off, I'm just going to go around the wrist a couple of times. And I'm making sure I'm not going around the forearm, I'm actually going around the wrist to put some more support on it. Okay? So I'll just go around like 3 times around the wrist. I'll try and do this perfectly because I'm on camera. And then not too tight to the point where you're cutting off circulation, but quite tight that you can feel it's giving you more support. From here and for the rest of the time, I've got to make sure my fingers are spread. Okay? One of the reasons I wrap my hands is to make sure that the knuckles are spaced out and they're not crunched up together, so that any force is sort of spread out nicely on the hand. So I've got to make sure my knuckles are spread, and because I'm going to use my thumb as an anchor, I'm going to keep that drawn back the whole time. I'm not going to have it with my fingers. Okay? So from here, the first thing I'm going to do is go up to the knuckles. And any time I go from the wrist to the knuckles, I always make sure I go diagonally across the hand. Okay? If I try and go up the same side, then it will just slip and it won't stay tight the whole time. So I'm going to finish off on the right side of my wrist. I'm going to go up to the left side of my knuckles. So I'm going diagonally across the hand. From here, like we were saying, I'm going to keep my fingers spread. I'm going to go round the knuckles a couple of times. Okay? Just to start putting some protection on them. And I'm making sure that the hand wrap is past the end of my knuckles. So I'm not going on the fingers where I'm actually on the knuckles, and I'm not going just on the hand where I can see my knuckles. I'm going over the knuckles. Okay, so I'll do that twice, keep my fingers spread, and then again coming diagonally, I'll come back down to the wrist. So I'm always going across diagonally on the back of the hand. So now we've got some padding on the knuckles. I'm going to start spreading out the knuckles as well. So I'm going to use my thumb as an anchor, and I'm just going to go in between each of the fingers, just to put a little padding to space them out. Okay, and every time making sure the hand wrap stays nice and flat. Flatten this out. Every time making sure it's staying as flat as possible, and it's not tight, but it's definitely not loose. Okay, coming back, keeping it all spread nice and tightly. Cool. From here, I'm going to go round the wrist once, and now I want to do something to make sure these stay in place. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to come across the back of the hand. I'm just going to lay something down to hold that all in place. Okay. Again, making sure it's nice and flat. So now I've got some spacing in between my fingers, and I've got something holding those in place. I'm just going to go back up diagonally to the knuckles one more time, and then just make sure that those are held tightly. I'm going to go around once more. Again, making sure I'm going over the knuckles, not over the hand or over the fingers. Okay. From here, I come back down to the wrist. And so now I've got a pretty good base of padding on my knuckles and on my wrist. The last area I've got to make sure I hit is my thumb. Okay? When you're throwing punches or hooks or whatever, we got to make sure that we're not landing lots of impact on that knuckle. And if we are, we want to make sure there's some support on it. Okay, just not too much, not a strong knuckle really, a joint. So I'm going to come around. I'm just going to go straight over the knuckle first, the thumb the first time. I come over, keeping it quite tight, and then I'm going to go back over the wrist. So I've got that first little bit of support. That's pulling backwards on the thumb, that pressure. So I want to even that out. So this time I'm going to go under and just even that out. And then I'm going to pull forwards on that thumb. So I'm making sure if I'm putting pressure one way, I'll put pressure the other way as well. Okay? So now I've got some more support on the thumb. I'm just going to tie it off. And different people have different sized hands, different sized wrists. So you might have a different amount left over. I've hit the three areas, the three main areas I wanted to. The knuckles, the wrist and the thumb. So whatever you have left is up to you to choose what you want to put some more protection on. Okay? I usually training 16-ounce gloves or 8-ounce gloves, so I don't really worry too much about the knuckles because I know I'm going to have lots of padding there. If my thumb's hurting at the time, I'll put more padding on the thumb, but usually I just want to make sure my wrist is a bit more supported. So I'll just use the rest of the hand wrap, go around the wrist, make sure it's nice and tight, nice and flush, and it's not overlapping too badly. Then, because I made sure at the beginning that the hand wrap was facing down, the Velcro's on the right side, so I can just tie it off, and then I'll just make sure it's all nice and flat, nothing's loose, and make sure I can make a nice fist. Okay? And there is a basic idea of what you want to look at when you're wrapping your hands. Like I say, there's loads of different ways, and no two people will wrap them the same way, and every time I wrap my hands it will change slightly, but I'm always making sure those three areas are protected. Okay? So while you've got some free time, I'd recommend grabbing a hand wrap and just sitting down, going through this video and just practice it over and over. And then at the beginning of a class, rather than it taking you 10 minutes to muddle through, it might take you 1.5 minutes each hand, and then you're ready to train. Cool? Thanks very much guys, stay safe.